There's a lot happening with New Jersey's child welfare system. We want to help you make sense of it and share our story. This is DCF on the Air.
This is DCF on the Air, and I'm Jason Bukowski. DCF on the Air is a podcast of the New Jersey Department of Children and Families to talk about the initiatives and programs from the Department of Children and Families that maybe you don't know about. There might be new initiatives that are rolling out, really transformative work. When I think of today's subject, I really think about how it doesn't necessarily, on first blush, you don't think of this as part of the traditional child welfare system, but it's doing so much to improve outcomes for the youth that are being served. We're talking about today the 14 regional schools that DCF operates through our Office of Education. And I'll turn it over to our guests to introduce themselves, and then we'll ask a few questions about what that work looks like and how we're working with local school districts to ensure that all children and youth in New Jersey have access to quality education.
Hello, I'm Dr. Kelley Michalowski, the Assistant Commissioner over the Office of Ed Regional Schools.
My name is Miluska Gamarra-Yanez, and I'm the Supervisor of Educational Programs at the Cherry Hill campus.
And my name is Renee Freeman. I'm the Supervisor of Educational Programs at Union Campus.
Thank you so much, and welcome to DCF on the Air.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I mentioned in my intro that not many people know about the OOE schools and what we do through them as part of the child welfare system. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about how long this has been a part of the Department of Children and Families, and how is it similar, how are the OOE run schools similar to what's happening in the local school district?
The Office of Ed Regional Schools have been part of DCF since inception. Prior to that, we were part of the Department of Human Services. We're very similar to the local school districts in that we report directly to the Department of Ed and also have a hand from DCF. The local school districts, to them, we are a receiving school. So we receive students that are already enrolled in those local school districts.
So the Office of Ed Schools came over in 2006 when the department launched.
Correct.
Yeah. I'm wondering, how are the services provided by the Office of Ed Schools different from what would be considered a traditional or a local run school district?
The Office of Ed Regional Schools are much smaller, first off, than a local school district. The average school has about 35 children and students, and there's also a nursery in almost each of the schools except for two who have a different population than the TEACH programs.
Sure.
I turn it over to Miluska.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we provide our students with a lot of resources and support that will not only help them in the school setting, but also in the community. So for a lot of our TEACH students, we link them with resources like being, aware of the food stamps, that they have access to WIC, the different perinatal cooperative, that's one that we use in Camden County that we refer the students to, so that they have those at school supports or also and also in home or in the community.
And with the students that graduate from our schools, we make sure they have a plan upon graduation. So whether they're going into a trade or going to community college or college, we help facilitate that for them so that they have a plan upon graduation.
Yeah. And I think across all populations served by the Office of Ed Schools, there's a sense of almost like an integration of what would be considered traditional general ed requirements and more of almost like a family-focused education. Wonder if you could speak a little bit to that.
Absolutely. The advantage we have with such a small school environment is that everything's individualized. So the students are able to either have basic skills or a lot of them are enrolled in a dual enrollment course so they can actually graduate, some of them with an associate's degree. With that small knit community, they focus on family. They have supports that their transition programs include their whole family in the decisions that are made for each and every student.
And I've had comments from guidance counselors that they've said our schools seem like a family, and it really is true because the teachers really get to work one-on-one with the students. And in fact, all the staff, whether they're in the nursery or work in the kitchen, everybody knows all the kids. And they have their back at all times. And it's very nice because some of the students that we do receive need a lot of support. So it's good to have a family.
I'm also wondering if, because I know that some of the programs, I don't know if all of the programs are this way, but some of the programs are 12-month programs, correct?
All of the programs.
All the programs are 12-month.
All the programs are 12-month, which gives the students an opportunity in the summer to catch up or get ahead, especially if they're going to be on maternity leave for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of erases the time that they would have been falling behind in regular classes. So it's a great opportunity for them.
Yeah, but I think that also contributes to that sense of close-knit.
Oh, absolutely, because they're there all year long. So, in the summer we do a lot of different activities, and they really get to know the students really well.
That's
We
great.
try to make it fun for the students and the staff,
Yeah,
which can be hard.
and it's a safe place for our students. I think many times, in the summers, schools kind of become a little disconnected from the students, but it gives us an opportunity to actually keep like an extra set of close eyes on our students and see what additional supports they need through the summer. While there's so many students out of school, they're exposed to other things in the community, so we're still there for them.
And I think it probably benefits the whole family unit because, there's challenges with, how do you ensure that, the kids are receiving appropriate care at the, some of the younger kids, that they're getting the care that they need, during the summer months as opposed to, being disconnected.
Absolutely.
So I'm wondering, and we've talked a little bit about this offline, but the challenges of integrating our Office of Ed schools with sort of the larger educational tapestry in the state of New Jersey. What do you see as some of those challenges, and what are some of the things that we could be doing to overcome that, to talk about the Office of Ed schools a little bit differently?
I think the biggest challenge with the Office of Ed is the awareness. First off, schools don't understand who we are or how the students get to us, and that's a huge obstacle because they have so many students that need our services and could really benefit from it, but aren't here. Along with that, we have a lot of activities and things like that we do to connect us to those districts. I know that both Miluska and Renee reach out to those districts in all sorts of capacities and bring in nurses and guidance counselors so that we can make them more aware of all the things that we do. I'm sure Miluska can speak a little bit to the activities too.
Yeah, so what we try to do, I know particularly here at Cherry Hill, what we do is we reach out directly and speak with the different leaders in the buildings, whether that's a director of special services, whether it's, the head of the guidance counselor, whether we're meeting with superintendents, community partnerships. So I think that, as Kelley mentioned, awareness is very important, but also a further explanation to all of the different school districts of who we are and what we're here to do. Because even to this day, as much as we provide presentations, with the change of leaders and things like that, sometimes that information is lost. So we kind of start all over again. So I know one of the goals that we have in the schools is to always promote, outreach, recruiting. Once a year, we try to hold open house around the new school year so that different leaders and everybody within, for me, Camden County would be coming, to see the school and what we offer.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of difficulty with the school districts because they have only been accustomed to sending out special education students, whereas in the regional schools, we can have students with a regular education program. So that has to be explained a little bit, that those students are eligible to attend with us.
Yeah. Kelley, you mentioned that there's not a lot of information about how the students get to the Office of Ed schools. So I'm wondering if we could talk a little bit about that. How do we, bring students over from their local district? How is that referral made? What's that process look like?
It's a really easy process. The students can be referred to us basically through any connection they have, either school districts through their nurses or counselors like I spoke to earlier. But a big resource lately has been even clinics that students go to when they find out they're pregnant, or through the Children's System of Care. There's through CSOC, through Perform Care, DCP&P references. Probation officers are even often a resource for us. But like I said, recently for our teach programs, it has been OBs and clinics and things like that. So anything that touches the students in the community can refer over to our schools.
Yeah. And I think that that's really one of and it goes back to that this is beyond just your typical education model, that we're connecting to healthcare, we're connecting to, to family, we're connecting to resources outside of the department and that are there to support families as a whole.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think our nursery is the biggest difference between us and a school district, because the students have the opportunity then to interact with their kids throughout the day, whereas in a school, they're going back to school and they don't see their children all day. For a new mom, that's really tough. I know even for me, going back to work 20 years ago after having a baby, it was hard to be away from the baby all day.
Yep.
But they have the opportunity to see their baby, to feed the baby, and also our staff gets eyes on to make sure that they're able to thrive and have enough support to be a new mom or dad.
Yeah, and that's through the Project Teach program.
Correct.
So let's talk a little bit about Project Teach. We mentioned that there's, an in-school nursery. What other supports are there for new parents to allow them to complete their education, but also to grow as new parents?
There's a lot of supports within the schools. As I spoke about the individualized curriculum, so we align our curriculum with their regular school district so they don't miss a beat. They just continue with school and have all the same curriculum that they would have needed to graduate from their local high school. In addition to that, we provide parenting classes that provide a million different resources for them from the communities that they live near or in, so that they know where to get them and how to connect to them even after they graduate. A lot of the schools do things like diaper derbies and things like that to also get them the supplies. DCF also a lot of the time will provide formula, diapers, car seats, and all kinds of different resources to make sure that they're successful and can continue to grow and thrive within their communities.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really benefits our students is, like, as Kelley mentioned, having being in the same building with the student, with their baby. The student is getting their education kind of like on one side of the building while the baby's on the other side. So if the baby becomes sick or anything's happening with the baby, the nurse immediately contacts the parent's able to come. We also, it also gives the students an opportunity to breastfeed their babies. So we have breastfeeding areas so that they can be right there with their baby. They get pulled out of class. We work around their schedule to make sure they're not missing the education, but are still getting that experience. For our students that want to breastfeed, we strongly encourage that. Along with the parenting classes, many times the teachers bring the students into the nursery so that they can do a lot of hands-on experiences with the babies. We're making sure the babies are meeting the milestones. If not, we're providing them with those other resources, like, do we need early intervention? What do we need to ensure this baby is meeting all the milestones? And to also support our students as young moms. I think it's hard as adults, but it's even harder when you're an adolescent and sometimes even have limited supports. So with some of the family dynamics that some of our students have, as we mentioned earlier, we become that family kind of away from home, where they feel that their babies are safe with us. And all of the staff, nursery staff and our teachers, create that rapport and build those relationships with our students. That's very crucial to their education.
It kind of reminded me almost, through DCF, we have our Universal Home Visiting Program, Family Connects New Jersey. And this almost feels like an extension because, we have Family Connects New Jersey that's making sure that the parents have the education that they need.
Yes.
Parents are safe, babies are meeting their milestones. Now we're doing that in school. So it's almost like an in-school visiting program.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Even during lunch, for example, the students have the opportunity to have lunch and breakfast with the babies. So they come in and it still gives them that responsibility of get your baby situated, get the baby ready for the day. Does the baby have breakfast? We provide supports, but we also give them the resources to be successful when they leave our schools, as if they were going to an early education program or a daycare.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's one of the strengths of the program. 13 years ago, I was a new parent too, and I had no idea what I was doing. I think every new parent that goes through that kind of feels the same way. And having somebody there that can kind of guide you and say, okay, you have your responsibilities. You have to meet your educational requirements. You need to complete your general ed. or even your associate's degree, but you can also, show them what they need to do as far as being, present, being able to provide for their children, through some of the basic necessities of parenting. I think that's really crucial.
Especially with the educational piece. We see the moms come in first thing in the morning. We can tell if they had a rough night, the baby's teething, things like that. So the moms might not be prepared that day for sitting in a class all day and learning. So we can kind of work with them to make sure their work is completed, especially if they have doctor's appointments. We make them remember to bring in a doctor's note, things like that. The educational piece is probably very stressful for a new mom trying to take care of a baby and still finish school. So we make a lot of adjustments on that end.
Yeah. I remember early on in my career here with DCF, I had the opportunity, and probably within the first month of coming here, I joined the commissioner at a reading for Read Across America, and we got to attend, I think it was the Burlington Regional School.
Oh.
And read to the children in the nursery. So that was kind of and their parents, they were both there. But that was really kind of a highlight, and it was a warm memory. And you get that sense, you really get that sense of the focus on family and the commitment to family and strengthening families through this model. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another initiative run by the Office of Ed Schools is the Transitional Education Centers, they're not all projects, but the tech program. Can you talk a little bit about what that entails and how that's supporting students?
Sure. The tech program serves students that are behavioral health, have high anxiety, basically that need a smaller environment to thrive, been struggling with school. I think almost all of our schools serve the tech population along with Teach, which is a great marriage for both of them because there's peers in all the classes in it, and they can see, how important it is to provide the right environment for a student. The biggest part of the tech program is providing just a safe and healthy place for these students to really thrive and grow within who they are. And that individualized curriculum that we spoke about before is key to having them be successful. Since the onset of COVID, we've seen more and more mental health issues and anxiety in schools. And we're finding that so many kids just need a smaller environment to feel safe and to heal from whatever trauma they experienced during COVID or outside of COVID. So a lot of these environments have been absolutely wonderful for them, and they've gone well beyond what they thought it was possible for them to do academically and socially. We're transitioning them back into schools, and they're able to go back into their community schools and then graduate from there. So it's really been a wonderful experience for that.
At Cherry Hill, I actually just have a student that came to mind as we were talking about the tech population. He came over to us and finished this past school year and did the summer as well. And they're now ready to go back to the school district to start high school. At Cherry Hill, we also serve elementary and middle school. So this middle school student came, had chronic absenteeism, wouldn't make it into school, severe anxiety, and just that smaller classroom setting is really what helped them thrive and be able to go back into that public school setting, ready to be in a larger classroom environment with other students and being exposed to different experiences. So it was great. And having the parent come to the building and say, it's my child's last day, but I just want to take a moment to thank you guys for everything that you've done. Like we mentioned earlier, our work goes beyond the classroom. We do a lot more than just educating the students. We provide them with a sense of belonging, making sure they're okay, before putting them back into the community. Our students, I think, for the most part, all of them, once they graduate from us or once they leave our program, they always stay in touch one way or another. We're able to learn about their successes, what things are going well, and a lot of them want to come back and actually be almost like speakers or a role model for the students that are currently enrolled and say, if I could just tell them and let them know that the impact that you guys have made in my life, so that they can also take advantage of this opportunity. So I think that, the tech population, we provide them also with a lot of supports, but it's that, readiness for them to go back into the community and be ready from, being an at-risk student to thrive in the community.
In my brain, as soon as I hear something, sometimes like things start triggering and I'm already creating new programs, which, it gives us something to talk about on this podcast. But I'm almost wondering if there's an opportunity to do like an alumni mentorship, like an official alumni mentorship.
That would be
with, some of
amazing.
the
Yes.
people.
It really would.
Yeah.
Even when Miluska spoke about the elementary kids, we have elementary students up at Bergen, and they come back in a million different ways. Like you were talking about reading with Burlington. The one thing that COVID gave us was the virtual. So I would read with the Bergen students every Thursday at 10 o'clock. We had a standing date to read to each other. It wasn't just me. It started as me reading to them and then began them reading to me. And those 10 students still come back, and now they're in 8th grade and so excited that they graduated from that program, but they come back to see all the teachers. They come back to see, they met my dogs during COVID. So they were like excited to see my dogs again and all, that family network again. But they were so excited. That mentor program would be amazing because that would give them a sense of success again.
So the Project Teach program and Project Tech, these are integrated in the schools. It's not like we have different schools for different programs.
No.
I'm wondering what's the value of having these students together, and what are they gaining from going side by side with their colleagues with their fellow students in the different programs.
There's so much to gain with having students of all different abilities into one class. Which makes it complicated because I said there was 35 kids in the class. So you often have kids that are on a 2nd grade reading level and a 10th grade reading level that could be in the same room. We also have a third population that we don't talk a whole lot about, but is an exceptional needs population. So I think it gives the students an opportunity to see the differences and to work as teams and to work together to have goals set for each other. When you have kids that came in that had a lot of anxiety and a lot of issues, and they're put into a class with kids that have just had babies and just are a lot of them at the lowest point in their lives, to be honest with you, because it's scary.
Yeah.
They see that, one, things could be a lot worse. 2, they help each other. They help each other learn, and they thrive with a much bigger class, first of all, because sometimes you would have just a couple of them in class. This gives them more people to bounce things off with, and they help one another to move forward. The differentiated learning, which is tough for our teachers to teach different grade levels in the same class, again, gives them different opportunities to learn new things. There's holes in their education from where trauma occurred. This gives them time and ability to go back and revisit some of it and help others to move forward too.
Yeah.
I think too also, with having the teach and tech population mixed in, a lot of our students kind of almost like find their identity for who they are and who they want to become. We have a lot of students that come in and they're like, so I might have to ride the bus with the baby. But by the time they want to leave or they're going to leave our programs, they're leaving wanting to become, educators or wanting to work in a daycare or seeking for jobs with working with children because they see, we're now having lunch and my friend is feeding her baby, and gives them that awareness of learning skills that they're going to need sometime in their life, but also learn who they are, who they want to be, and sometimes even who or what they don't want to become. They learn from each other, and I think that's very important. It's something that us as educators we can't give them, but what we can give them is the experiences and the ability and opportunities to self-express themselves and just explore their identity and realize this is who I am now and this is who I want to become.
They really become each other's cheerleaders also. They push the other kids to maybe do their work or stop fooling around, things like that. So that's always nice to see that, especially the ones that are seniors. And if we get new students in, they're a little bit younger.
Yeah.
They kind of guide them along the way. So that's always nice to see.
Yeah. I almost think of it like the inclusion philosophy in education, but also normalizing, some of the experiences that they've gone through, because I think that's sort of, and, you mentioned the mental wellness concerns, trauma, and that's one of the big concerns with that is that you start to otherize yourself. You start to think, well, my experiences are, this is not normal. But when you're with students that have experienced other levels of trauma, other levels of anxiety, you start to remove the barriers around stigma. So I think that's kind of
that's our biggest. I want to say like the most successful of our programs. One of the schools had the exceptional needs, which is often a medically fragile student in a wheelchair, not able to walk. Some of them are nonverbal, and then they're in these schools with the teach programs, and on both sides of it, they're excited to see that it's a normal thing. They shouldn't be afraid of someone in a wheelchair. They have emotions, they have feelings, and they can communicate through different means.
Yeah.
And with the tech students in that building as well, that we have one building that has tech students, teach students, and exceptional needs, and they all intermingle and they all learn from each other. And as Miluska said, it gives them more career opportunities. We also have a CDA program where they're learning to work in daycares and through the career and technical education. So it gives them the opportunity to know what they want to do when they grow up, or not do when they grow up in the same sense.
Sure.
Yeah. You mentioned the mental health concerns post-COVID, and I think that's, as students go back to school, I think that's a big concern for all school districts, which, shout out, the Office of Ed schools are their own school district in the state of New Jersey. They're considered a separate school district. I'm wondering, how are the Office of Ed schools, the 14 regional schools around the state, preparing for youth mental wellness as we go back into your school year is 12 months, so we're not actually going back into the school year, you're already back. But how are we preparing for youth mental wellness? And are we looking at components of a trauma-informed education?
We are. We have a huge focus on social emotional learning and trauma-informed care to create a healing-centered environment. Our ultimate goal is a healing-centered environment. We have a lot of educators that have been in the field for a long time and are all saying that we've never seen anything like the mental health issues that we have now. So we've provided supports not only for the students but for the teachers. We have a lot of professional development that surrounds social emotional learning, but also a coaching and instructional leaders in the buildings to provide support to the teachers to help with the behaviors that we're seeing of the students. And the social emotional learning component helps the students to better center their energies and not manifest in different behaviors, but focus on learning and focus on their futures. We piloted the instructional coaches last year, and the feedback that we got was amazing. They all want to continue, and we want to expand it to other schools and provide them with that support. The instructional coach said the first couple sessions of the coaching was often a therapy session from the teachers because of what they're seeing. So we want to make sure that we provide enough for them so that they can go into that classroom and feel refreshed and able to deal with kids in a whole new light. And we work with the Nurtured Heart program and also a few other programs that have dipped in and focused more on instruction than just the social part of it.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to call out that, when we're thinking about the wellness continuum and the wellness supports that youth need, it's also the people that are working with youth, that secondary or vicarious trauma that they're experiencing, and giving them the tools that they need to show up for our students.
That was our main focus with this program, is to provide the teachers with the supports and the ability to move forward with it so that they can help the students.
Great.
And you really have to reach out to the parents as well with this. And a lot of times they're looking for answers to why their child is having difficulties in school. We have a partnership with NJ4S And they actually will work with the student, have sessions as far as like a therapy session with the student, and work with the parents as well. So that's really helpful because the parents do need a lot of support because they sometimes are at their wits' end with trying to deal with what their child is going through. But we can at least guide them, to get help as well.
Yeah.
They
And
also
go ahead, Miluska.
They also have community support groups for the families, like Renee mentioned. So they were able to come in and share with the staff kind of some of the programs that they have to offer the students and the families. And then I know specifically for Cherry Hill, our Camden County liaison, she sends me maybe bi-weekly flyers of community events. So in our announcements that we have posted in the lobby of our building, we have that. We also share with families through a Remind app, which is like our instant messaging app to keep maintain communication with the families. So we're able to share with them. And sometimes it's not just counseling services, but community supports, like there is a diaper drive or there is a back to school drive. Here's some school supplies or a coat drive, just different things for the family to also feel supported outside of our building. But we are also able to build those relationships with the families to where a parent knows us. I think us speaking as leaders here today, there's not one parent that will walk in one of our buildings and not know who we are. We make sure that they know who we are and how we're able to help them and their child while they're receiving their education. And one of the most rewarding things is when of our students graduates, just having that one-to-one, end of the year or graduation ceremony connection and just hearing, thank you for what you did. Thank you for referring me to the service. Thank you for providing me with the support, or just thank you for getting my child through their high school career.
Those graduations, it's really such a moving experience. I've had the opportunity to attend in Atlantic County. I've had the opportunity to attend up in Passaic County. So I've hit pretty much the entire state. But to see the joy on the students' faces when they go through that, and the parents are so proud, and it's really to experience that as someone who's just working in central office. That has been really such a touching experience to be a part of that. I've shared on here before, and I think I've shared with you, Kelley, that my wife is a school psychologist at a local district, and something Renee was talking about in terms of the support to parents, because I think that one of the challenges when you have a student with special needs, whether those special needs are due to anxiety, whether it's a parenting student who has, we have other considerations for them to be able to complete their education. But one of the considerations when you're supporting those students is that it doesn't stop at the school door. It's not something that we can just say, this is the support that we're providing in school, and then figure it out outside of school. And I think, by connecting to parents, talking through what other resources are available in the community, as Miluska talked about, and then, making those relationships, we're able to extend that healing environment well beyond school hours. So I think that's really key to providing a foundation for success for these students.
No, absolutely. The community that the schools are in are amazing. And as I said before, we get involved with some of the district activities. Some of our kids are able to go back and do sports at school and still attend our school. Even that little connection really helps them to feel part of the community. But all the different resources through DCF and through the Children's System of Care, and it's amazing how our kids grow and are excited to get back. Our goal is always to get them back into their school, although through our graduations, that a lot of our seniors graduate with us, but they don't want to leave a lot of the time because they found home. And those small environments are such a unique way to provide the services that these students need and to help them find who they are, so they can move on into a career. And a lot of them go to college, community colleges, because they're not all special needs the way that you traditionally think of a special needs student with a learning disability. They just need some extra supports and extra help, and that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, because I think in a local operated school district, the sense of community is already defined for the district, because you grew up with that person, they live a block over, they live 2 blocks over. So you're already defined by sort of the traditional municipal boundaries or district boundaries. But because these are regional districts, you don't have that same sort of definition. You could be pulling kids from all over the county into this one school. So how do you establish that sense of community? We talked a little bit about, building with, from a small foundation, because we only have so many students, we're able to connect them that way. But how do you make them, I guess, how do you bring them together in sort of that communal sense?
I think that what we try to do now and more often is also have within our DCF schools kind of have shared events and things that students can participate and get to know each other so that they know it's not just me attending, a different school. Because typically you have, for example, in some counties, you have the northern high school and the southern high school. So we kind of go with that same idea of bringing all of our districts together, whether that's through a Hispanic Heritage Month celebration or an end of a year barbecue, to give them a sense of belonging to our school district. But I think also with the connections that they build with us and that we build with the local school districts, they know that they belong to our school district. They can also be a part of their community, their school district, what they're a part of. But we give them something different, and something different being something that's more individualized, something that, almost serves their individualized needs, and gives them a sense of belonging and a way to, again, explore their identity and know this is something that I want to be a part of. Maybe I changed the school district or that community that I was with originally, but now I'm here, and I'm here with people that care, people that get to know me on a one-to-one level, and also is able to provide me support and resources outside of here.
And I think each one of our schools does it differently. Like last week, our Atlanta campus had a carnival, and they invited all the schools down. Passaic does a huge Hispanic Heritage Month celebration and invites all the schools to attend. So every school has their little niche and thing that they do that includes everybody else, which is really awesome because you can see the individuality of even just each school and the personalities of the staff that are there. Like our Cape May campus, they built a boat and took it out in the water and invited the different campuses down to see the launch of this boat. So there's always different things happening and exciting things that the kids meet each other through. One of the things with the huge teacher shortage in the state of New Jersey right now, we've adapted we have content teachers that may be teaching physically in Cape May, but they're teaching to students up in Bergen, and there's a support in the classroom for the kids at Bergen, but the content teachers down in Cape May. So they're able to get the expertise of the content from Cape May all the way up to Bergen, and then they're also seeing the faces of those kids. So it's fun to have those activities where they all meet and they know each other.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I think even beyond just sort of what you consider the traditional school activities, we don't have enough because it's a smaller student population. We're not fielding a football team.
No.
But we have prom.
Yes.
We host prom.
There's
I remember a couple of years ago, I want to say it was Union County. They had a theater program.
Yes.
And they
Performing
did
events down the street. Yeah.
Was that
Wizard of Oz they did.
Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
I think they also did Grease.
Grease.
Yes.
Yeah, with Plainfield High School.
Yeah. And making those connections with the other schools,
Yes.
to be able to integrate the students into that. So I think that's fantastic.
And our prom got huge. It started with just one school, and now I think 3 schools participate. So all 3 schools are in a big area and able to celebrate their proms. So it's neat.
Oh, that's awesome. You mentioned the content teachers, and that does bring up sort of the idea of, I know that in the last 4 years, the educational infrastructure has changed so dramatically. When you figure that we had to adapt to remote learning and develop the ability to do that, that wasn't even something that we'd even thought of in 2019, and in 2020 we had to build that from the ground up. But I'm wondering, beyond just the content teacher model, what are the other ways in which the Office of Ed Schools are adapting to sort of the changing landscape in education? And are there things that, we can talk about the work that we're doing that other districts might learn from?
Well, first and foremost was the content teachers, which has been amazing. The others, we, like many of the districts, provide every student has a Chromebook. So most of what they are learning is right from the Chromebook, rather than having 15 books to take home every day. They have their Chromebook, and all the content and curriculum is available to them right there. COVID opened doors to us for online learning. There's credit recovery programs. So when they've taken a class, not done so well in it, they're now able to go online and do credit recovery through Edmentum. We also have a lot of virtual classes with the colleges that started, and now, like I said before, they're able to earn even an associate's degree while they're working on their high school diploma. So we've had a lot of opportunities that way. I think we've looked at learning so differently before and after COVID. It's less of a sitting in the classroom thing. We really took that for granted pre-COVID, I think. And now there's so many more activities to keep them engaged and part of the, like we talk about, the community, but also knowing that learning takes place when you're making mistakes, not when you're just sitting reading a book. So they get them involved in activities and project-based learning. We have a few kids that are out in work-based learning, working during the day and getting high school credits for those jobs. So one of our career coaches goes out and observes them right on the job. I'm sure there's other.
We did at Cherry Hill last summer. We took the students fishing, so we were able to get a permit to take our students fishing. So actually, our school psychologist and our math teacher, they love to fish, and it was a great time not only for the students to connect, but just to have that hands-on experience with a different experience. Because a lot of our students, depending on where they're living, maybe they've never been fishing, or they've never gone out, to be a part of an activity like that, and it created. It just opened room for so many different things. Like, our students were excited to earn this and to be able to go fishing and to learn about fishing, and to know that, the teacher and the school psychologist worked so hard to get this permit to allow us to go weekly, and we would take a different group of students each time. And we were able to see how, like, our high school students almost took like a big brother, little brother role, where we would take some of the younger students with the older kids, and they would work together and they would teach them. And again, we taught them, like, you learn from mistakes. Maybe you didn't catch something this time, but you have to keep trying to keep learning the skill, and you're going to get better at this. And it was just such a fulfilling moment. It was great to see it. And just, it shows our students that we're all there for them. So the fact that the school psychologist kind of like put her work to the side for the day and say, I'm going fishing too, and I'm bringing all my gear, and we're all fishing together, was just a great opportunity.
Sometimes it's hard to get them to disconnect from the technology. So an experience like that just makes it so much more valuable, because they're so centered on their phones. We do a lot of work on the Chromebook, but we find the students using AI quite often to generate their answers, so we're struggling with that. But there are a lot of things with technology we can incorporate in the classes that we have to embrace and try to make it enjoyable for the teachers, because I know sometimes it's frustrating.
Yeah, I think the AI component is it's tough. It's really tough. Somebody who, my day job isn't hosting this podcast, but it's, helping out with the messaging for the department. But as someone who prides himself in writing, I feel like I'm going to be like the John Henry of AI. I'm going to be writing press releases against the computer and see which one comes out better. But it really does kind of paint this picture of, a really adaptive learning environment. Where we're stepping up in ways, we're responding to the challenges that students are experiencing, especially around that tech addiction and screen addiction, to give them a very well-rounded experience. It's not just, education's not limited to what's in academic curricula. And I think that's really embodied by the Office of Education Schools. So thank you so much for all of your work to provide a really well-rounded education to all of our students, and to carry that forward. So thank you.
It's been our pleasure. I love every minute of it.
It's very rewarding.
Thank you.
Thank
So this episode has been about an initiative that maybe you didn't really realize was a part of the child welfare system, even though it's been a part of our department since its inception. Next month, we're going to be talking about another initiative that may not be familiar to many, but it's our adoption registry. In New Jersey, we have the ability to connect adoptees to their birth families through a volunteer registry. And we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like, how that sort of evolved. And I do have an anecdote about my experiences at the Senate when this legislation was passed, and getting to meet a famous adoptee and hear his story. So I'll share that next time. But on behalf of my producers and the Office of Communications and Public Affairs at DCF, this is Jason Michalowski signing off, and tune in next time for more DCF on the Air.